If you want a new tool to improve the way you take notes and study in school, then you've clicked on the right video. This one app will genuinely improve the way you learn. You'll be able to learn and remember more with less effort. In this video, I'll share the various features and practices I use to help stay organized, take notes, and study with Obsidian MD. I won't just tell you why it's good. I'll show you how with examples from my own notes, as I'm currently in my first semester of university. You'll learn how to do things like freely organize your school notes and courses, create an interconnected web of all your different ideas and concepts, and then finally turn your notes directly into flashcards for effective retrieval studying. You know what? Go pause the video right now and install the program on your laptop or computer so you can follow along and experiment with me to truly see the power this app provides. If you're ready to revolutionize the way you learn forever, be sure to watch until the very end. First off, Obsidian is completely free to use, so all new features, themes, and plugins are available for download right off the bat. After downloading and opening the app, like I recommended earlier, it's time to create your first vault, which is a fancy term for the folder in which your notes and files are stored. So once you have it downloaded, you can run the application, create a new vault, choose a vault name. I'm just going to choose Epic Poggers Vault, and choose a location to store it in. Obsidian, store it there, and then create. There you go, your first Obsidian vault. Obsidian stores all your notes, images, and files locally on your computer, but I personally store my files on the cloud to allow for syncing across my various devices. If you want to do the same, you can opt in for Obsidian Sync, which is $8 a month, or you can just sync your vaults using iCloud or Google Drive. Anyways, let's create 3 new notes, which can be done in 3 different ways. First way is to come over here and just click this button that says New Note. And then you can just name the title. I'm going to name it Note 1. Second way is to use a hotkey on your keyboard, which is Control N or Command N if you're on Mac. And this will just do the same thing, create a blank note. I'm going to name that Note 2. The third method is if you want to name your files before you create them, which you can do so by pressing Ctrl O. So then as you can see, you can type whatever you want the title to be, and then you can press Shift and Enter to create the note. There you go, first 3 notes in Obsidian. To store what's in your notes, Obsidian uses markdown format, which is different from what you might be used to with programs like Microsoft Word or Notion. To format your text, you'll have to follow certain syntax like prefixing lines with hashtags to create headers, as well as adding asterisks or underlines around text you want to bold or italicize. Looking at plain walls of text can be a bit boring, so here's how you spice up your notes a bit. There's also strike through, which is using the tilde, and last one would be highlighting, just like that, 2 equal signs. And there's also special stuff like quotes, so if you want to put a quote, just like that, just put an arrow sign. Code blocks, if you're into programming, just add backticks, and if you want to do multi-line, you could put 3 backticks and have your code in between. And then the last thing would be lines to separate your notes. You can either use minuses or you can use underlines to do so. You might be thinking, all these random notes make my notes look horrible. Thankfully, using Obsidian's preview mode enables the cleaner view you're used to. To do this, you can either click the button up top over here, or you can also press Ctrl E to toggle between preview and edit mode. If you want a handy reference guide, you can always press F1, which opens up the Obsidian Help Vault. From there, you can head to the How To folder, and then the Format Your Notes note to actually see the syntax and the various options you have when creating your notes. If you liked how you can view both the edit and preview mode like shown in the Obsidian Help Vault, you can also do the same in your own notes by opening up 2 tabs, heading over here, more options, link with pane, and then select the pane you want to link it to. So then now you can set one to edit mode while one's still on preview. So whatever you type on the left will also be shown on the right side. Next, something that's super important and special about Obsidian is the ability to connect your notes through internal links. So I'm just going to rename this note to Obsidian and this note to note taking. And in this note, in my Obsidian note, I'm going to say that Obsidian is a note-taking application. To create an internal link, you can just add square brackets to the name of an already existing note like this. So when you click on this, it actually takes you to the note that you referenced. And you can also continue on doing this. So let's just say note-taking is important in school. So then you can actually do the same thing. And even if the note isn't created yet, if you press Control and create, you can actually create a new note just like that. You know how you can jump around from page to page by clicking on highlighted words in Wikipedia? Through these links, you can connect your notes the same way. These connections can be visually represented through the graph view, where you can see the web of all your notes. There's way more features and specifics I've yet to mention, so if you're curious to learn more about Obsidian itself, feel free to read up on more features out at their Obsidian Help website, which also serves as an example to the kinds of notes you can make in Obsidian. Anyways, now that we have a basic understanding of the app, it's time to start taking notes for your courses. Before we start taking notes, we should set up a structure to keep everything organized. To organize everything related to my school life, I actually have a main note that keeps track of all information university related. Instead of having all this information related to school in only one note like Google Docs, or into a folder and note like in a OneNote book, I can break everything down into as many small notes as I want, connecting everything using internal links. To save some time, I've created a main school note with some links to notes related to university. With Obsidian, you don't establish note hierarchy using folders. They could still be used, but your main method of organization are through these internal note connections. Let's add on to this note by connecting a courses note to it to keep track of courses we're taking this semester. So, just creating the internal link to a brand new note. Just press Control and click and it'll create it for you, just like so. And I'm actually going to speed up this process by implementing a course template I use in my own vault. I'm just going to drag it on top of the name of the vault, which is going to import it inside. And as you can see, it's right here. It just has some basic headers, just some things that I should probably keep note of in my course note. It also has variable things like the title. So whenever I create a note with this, it'll actually turn this into whatever the title of the note is, which is pretty convenient. To enable templates to be used, just head to Settings, Core Plugins, and enable the templates option right here. To actually use it though, you'll have to have a folder where you store all your templates. I'll just call it templates. And just be sure to drag the templates you're using inside the folder, like so. So then you want to head back into Settings, go to the Templates plugin option, and set the right folder. In this case, it's just templates, and you should be done. So now, if we head to the university note, courses, let's just set a title, and let's say we wanted to create a course for Math 100. So I would create the note like so, and then open up Command Palette, and then Insert Template. Since there's only one template, it'll just automatically insert the one that's in there. And yeah, from there, it's ultimately up to you. You can just easily go back to the courses note thanks to the link up here. And yeah. While we're on the topic, templates are super important in automating my workflow and enhancing my productivity. My templates range from outlines for writing assignments like essays to templates with different prompts to help cultivate new ideas. My good friend Timothy Kenny, a featured instructor of multiple best-selling productivity courses on both Udemy and Skillshare, was generous enough to provide me with a template you guys can use to start generating and storing ideas in Obsidian. It's called the Ideas Bank template, which I've added a link to in the description so you can download and use it right away. Timothy is doing me a huge favor by making one of his most popular templates available to you guys for absolutely free, so I would highly recommend checking it out in the description and using it. If you want to also use the school note and course template I mentioned in this video, feel free to check out my GitHub repository, which will also be in the description. Next, I'll go into the idea of conceptual note-taking and how I apply it into both abstract and technical courses. So, let's say I was taking 2 courses related to biology and psychology, and in both classes we talked about the brain. So I'd have a brain note, like this, and I wanted to connect it to both ideas. In a traditional note-taking system, you wouldn't be able to put the brain note into both folders, but with Obsidian, you can actually create internal links to form these connections. So instead of having these 2 folders, I'd actually have 2 notes, one for biology and one for psychology, like so. And in this note, I'll just link the brain right here. So I could say the brain helps us make decisions and controls our emotions. So then I could click here and it'd take me to the brain note. And same could be said for biology. I could say that the brain is part of our human anatomy. You can also do the same. They both take you to the same brain note. And from there, you can actually link back by saying something like, the brain is important in psychology as it controls how we think. And then you could also make a biology link, which I'm too lazy to elaborate on. And then to see what connections are made to the brain note, you could actually expand this over here, and you can see all the notes in which the brain note is mentioned. So as you can see, it's mentioned in biology and psychology. This is useful for finding those previous connections you made from other notes that you might have forgotten. Also, if you just wanted to actually embed the note, let's say this is a note on human anatomy, you can actually type an exclamation mark before the note link. So then once you open it in preview mode, it'll actually embed what's in the brain note into the human anatomy note, which is pretty neat. Since breaking down your notes in Obsidian is recommended to help make more connections, you can have a large main note representing a concept, which is then linked to smaller notes which represent specific points or examples. So in this brain note, we can include things like the different brain parts. So we could say that the hippocampus is a part of the brain that handles short-term memory. So instead of just having this as a traditional note, you could actually click on these and explore these concepts while making connections at the same time. Then we can say in the short-term memory note, dementia is a temporal disease that impacts our short-term memory, and we can make a link to dementia. And then in this note, we could say that dementia is caused by damage in the hippocampus. And then from there, we can make a full circle. So as you can see, if we open up the graph view, see that the brain's over here. This is the main note. You can see the connections made. With this note-taking strategy, you'll create notes based on the different concepts you're learning instead of the layout of your professor's lecture. As you progress through the course and your degree or schooling, you can always build on your previous ideas, elaborating on the concepts or making more connections. Also, there's no right or wrong way to write conceptual notes, so you can create notes that best support the way you think. Then, for more technical courses like programming and math, I can still use these links to keep things organized, breaking down each idea into its smaller parts. Just to provide a brief example for a technical course I have right now, discrete mathematics, I just have stuff from what I mentioned earlier in my course outline template. And if we head into the actual ideas, it's pretty straightforward. There's lots of different connections. I just keep breaking down each idea into its smaller components. So propositional logic, in there's conditionals, and type of conditional is the if conditional. And what this allows me to do is, if I'm unsure of something, I can easily just open up the quick switcher and type it in. So hey, if conditional is already here. If I needed a quick refresher on something like quantifiers and predicates, I could easily search it up, and there you go. I can easily access my note on it. Now that we have a rough idea on the note-taking potential in Obsidian, it's time to see how we can enhance these notes to make studying easier and more effective. If you've done your fair share of research on studying tips and practices, you've probably already heard of active recall, which is the process of quizzing yourself, and spaced repetition, which is when you space out your studying instead of cramming it all at once. Fortunately, we can use Obsidian plugins to incorporate these two study tips into Obsidian. First off, Obsidian has a fold feature that allows you to quiz yourself in your notes. So to enable this fold feature, just head to Settings, Editor, and enable fold heading and fold indent. Then let's just create a new note. Actually, let's head to the brain. So if we were to convert this line into active recall, we'd have to first turn this into a point, and we'd have to separate it into the cue and the actual definition or thing we want to remember. So let's just leave the hippocampus is as the cue, and then we can turn this into a second point. As you can see here, the arrow toggles the folding. There's actually a command to fold all your notes right here, fold all headings and lists. So as soon as you open the note, you can enable that. And then you can just go line by line on whatever notes you have and quiz yourself. So if we remember correctly, the hippocampus is, actually I don't even remember. It's part of the brain that handles short-term memory. Doing this will already make your notes effective for studying by having to actively read and retrieve ideas, but with the spaced repetition plugin, you can turn the contents of your notes into flashcards. To download the plugin, just head to Settings, Community Plugins, then disable Safe Mode, and then turn off Safe Mode. So then from here, you can actually browse and then search up spaced repetition. So make sure to enable it too. So once you have the plugin downloaded, if you want to add some flashcards from a specific note, you'd have to first type in a tag, hashtag flashcards, and then to actually convert a line into a flashcard, you'd have to add 2 colons in between the front and the back. So this is going to be the front and this is going to be the back. And if we head over here on the side, there's a button to review your flashcards. And if we check it out, there we go. It shows what note it's from, so it says the brain, and then it shows the front. And this time, I think I remember the answer, is the hippocampus is a place where short-term information is stored. Nope. I mean, kind of right. And then after going through the flashcard, you can choose how well you remembered it, and depending on how you answer, it'll actually retest you on that card earlier or later, up to 3.5 days later. I find this to be super helpful for just weeding through the cards that I already know and spending more time and effort on the ideas that I'm struggling to remember. In this case, I'd say it was good because I got half of it. If you want to do a multi-line flashcard, you can actually just add a question mark under, like so, and you can put in all the information you have on the idea. But I will note that if you have a space in between lines, like this, then it'll actually cut off here, and this part won't be part of the flashcard, so just be careful on that. And you can also include headers as the front. So if I just head over here, do the flashcards again, it's a bit bigger than traditional text because it was a header. If we show the answer, there we go, multi-line text. If you want to review a whole note instead of just flashcards, you can add the tag hashtag review onto a note and open up command palette, search up spaced repetition, and you can open a note for review. And this will just update it, so you can head over here into the notes review queue, and you can see the note is right here. It's under new since we haven't really reviewed it yet. And after reviewing it, let's just say we did a nice job reviewing it, we can set it to easy. So then it'll say when the next review date is. So if you're struggling on a certain topic instead of just some few ideas, you can easily just use the review function instead of the flashcards. I find this especially useful for technical courses as I can store the problems and questions related to each concept for me to practice on in Obsidian. Also, I'd like to note that the flashcards tag is hierarchical, meaning that you can add subtags to differentiate cards between classes. As you can see here, I have a tag for flashcards/CMT125, which is one of the classes I'm taking, and one for Macom. So these two are actually separate in their own sense with the subtag. So if I head over here to settings, go to spaced repetition, you can actually set what tag you want to pull flashcards from. So if I were to do just hashtag flashcards, I would get questions from both classes, but if I were to only include my math course, I would only get questions from my math notes. And then you can also go one step further and do something in a certain topic that you're learning in class. It's completely up to you. Hopefully, my personal experiences with the program paired with your own experimentations can help you see the invaluable potential Obsidian can provide in not just your schooling life, but the way you learn as a whole. If you're unsure on how to start off using Obsidian, you can watch my 7-day Obsidian video to see how I started from a blank vault to the web I have now. If you want some personal guidance, I'm offering one-on-one consulting sessions where I can help you set up your Obsidian vault, clarify things you don't understand, or learn more tips that I didn't include in this video. Just head over to my Ko-fi link in the description for more information. The style of this video is a bit different from my usual ones, so I would appreciate any feedback related to the improvised example parts. If you have any further questions or video ideas in mind, I'd be happy to hear them in the comments. Anyways, if you found my advice to be helpful, please consider liking and sharing the video to other people who may also need it, and be sure to subscribe for more content like this. This has been John Maverick. Stay mindful.